instead of light in Death Note. I could have done a fine Misa, I think. Why are you laughing? You think that's funny? But I was serious. No, you know, it would have been fun to play L, but Alessandro Giuliani, AJ, does such an incredible job at L that after seeing the series, no, I take it back. I'll stick with light. And you know, pretty good character, especially for a guy like me. So yeah, no, I'm pretty happy. If I had a cooler voice, I'd like to do Duke, but you don't want Ryuk sounding like me. Give me an apple, light.
You're talking about the different actors within the show. I mean, how much do you actually get to work with the other actors within the show? Because I know a lot of the time you're in the booth. I mean, do you get much interaction?
That's something that a lot of people don't really realize about the ADR stuff or the dubbing that we do for these Japanese shows. Is a show that I work on called X-Men Evolution. Yeah, you guys watched that? Okay, cool. I played Nightcrawler on that one. Chicks think the fuzzy dude. Yeah. So that type of show, an American show, they get all the cast in the same room. We record it, and then they send it away and they draw up all the cartoons around our voices. But for a show that's already been produced in Japan, basically they'll bring in one actor at a time, and it's me and a TV. And you're watching your character talk, and I got my headset on, so I hear these little beeps. Doop, doop, doop. On the imaginary fourth beep, I start talking, and I hope to finish by the time his mouth stops. Which sometimes happens and sometimes not so much. So yeah, it's very different because you don't have the play with the other actors, so you just have to trust that everybody's going to do the best job they can do. But it does make it really interesting when you actually see the final product and you get to see all the characters kind of spliced in there. And it's really fun seeing how they actually do interact with each other. I mean, one benefit you have of working on these anime shows is it's right in front of you to see. And these shows are so visually stimulating that it's really easy to kind of get enveloped right into that world and really take on the personas of the character. So watch out, I might kill you this weekend.
And when you said you were well aware of the success of Death Note before you jumped onto it yourself. I mean, had you read the manga, or was it a case of, you were watching the anime?
It basically started out as just word of mouth, just hearing what people were talking about it. I hadn't seen it until when I first auditioned for it. I got to watch a little bit, and then when I was cast, I was able to get my hands on some of the original Japanese. So that was the first time I actually watched the series. And I had to be careful about that too, because I didn't want to watch too much, because the Japanese voice actor that plays Light does an amazing job in the original Japanese series. And I didn't want to try and copy him, because he's really good. So I wanted to make sure that I kind of had my own take on it. Except for when we got to the last couple episodes. I watched episode 37 in Japanese probably about 4 or 5 times. Well, first of all, I really liked it, and I was terrified, because I knew that I had a lot to live up to, with this, like what happens to Light towards the end of the series. I knew that I had to work extra hard, so I watched that thing a lot.
I think it's probably, again, to keep it safe, I think intense is probably...
yes, very tense. Tense, intense, all that good stuff.
All mental. Okay, any other questions? There's a chap down here.
Have you ever thought about drawing manga?
Drawing manga. I do draw a lot. Sometimes not very well, sometimes better than others. But I do have what I call my real job, because this is essentially a dream job, right? And unfortunately, the anime doesn't really pay enough to make a living on. So what I went to school for is graphic design and illustration. I would say that the manga and the anime style has really kind of leaked into my artistic style, but I don't think that I would be able to successfully pull off any manga, complete, devoted manga style, just because it's not my style. And there are so many other people that do it so well. I'd be afraid to kind of get in there. But I do admit that, having watched all these anime series and seen a lot of manga, that it is kind of through osmosis creeping into my style, and that's great. And that's something that's really happening, I think, all over the world. Anime is one of those mediums that's becoming more mainstream, more popular, more recognized, and more influential than I think it's ever been. Good question.
Hey, come down here.
Besides Light Yagami, who is your favorite character that you've ever voiced?
Ooh, who's my favorite character? That's like picking your favorite child. You know, that's tough. It's amazing. When you're working on a show, you'll find that you manage to find traits that you have in common with pretty much every character you play. So it's tough to pick just one because I feel bad for all the other ones. I mean, there's parts of Moose from Ranma, you know, Nightcrawler for sure, you know, little bits of all these characters are my favorites. I mean, the Gundam universe has been very good to me, so getting to play like Catra, Amuro, Diarca, Aul, and moving into Setsuna now in Gundam 00, I mean, I can't pick a favorite. They're all great, and I'm happy to be working, so, you know, the more the merrier. So it's not a very good answer to your question, but let's move on. I'm a big chicken.
I mean, obviously you've done a lot of work on, as you say, the Gundam universe, and a lot of it's there. Does it ever get nervous? Because it's like, crap, you've got to do different voices for each and every one. And it's like, oh no, they're going to know!
One good thing is, in Japan, a lot of the voice actors that they use the same actors for a lot of these characters. For example, the fellow that plays Light also plays Setsuna, and it just so happens that I got cast in both of them, right? So I don't have to worry about changing my voice too much,
Brad Swaille.
except for, you know, where Catra's kind of up here, sweet and noble, and then Diarca's down here, who cares? And Aul's kind of up here, crazy, right? But I tend to not worry about disguising my voice too much. I try and focus more on the performance and just kind of hitting the emotion of the characters. And I like to think that fans of the shows will forgive me for not being the man of a million voices. I'm not Scott McNeil. There's only one Scott McNeil.
Impact Ultimate.
Okay, a question for
phoned
gentleman
me,
at the back.
and then he cut off because he couldn't hear me, and he's probably going to find me. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah, if there was one character you could voice, who would it be, and what kind of voice would you give the character? An example, maybe?
An example of a character that I'd like to voice. I've been so lucky, you know. Most of the characters that I want to voice, I'm doing pretty good getting, so that's all right. Going back to like X-Men Evolution, Wolverine would have been cool, but of course that was played by Scott McNeil. And I ain't no Scott McNeil, bub. See, how pathetic is that? You would never watch the show if it was if Wolverine sounded like this. I'm gonna get you, bub. It's tough. Even I'd like to say that it would have been fun to voice, you know, back in the old days, like Looney Tunes cartoons and things like that, right? But Mel Blanc is the king. So what do you do? No, I'll stick with what I can do and hopefully go from there.
Okay, any other questions back here? Gentleman with hand? Oscar Trams.
Yeah, hi. When you got told you were going to play Light, what did you feel like?
This is me. This is a reenaction of me on the phone. Yeah. Oh, I got cast, man. Which character did I get? Light? Okay, can you hold on for a second? Yeah, that'll be fine. Thank you. No, I was super stoked. Yeah, really excited. And I hate to say this, but it is one of the best times that I've had working on an anime series. And I think it's like we were talking about earlier. It's just, you know, getting the range that character goes throughout the course of 37 episodes is just incredible. And I mean, obviously seeing the response to the series helps, you know, me look favorably upon the whole show. So yeah, no, I was pretty excited. I would admit I was pretty excited. There you are.
Yes, I managed to scare myself that time. And, you know, happy with the end result?
I could be happier. Well, we don't want to talk about too much, right? But yeah, fair is fair. Fair is fair.